What's up, everybody? What's going on? It's your boy Danikin underscore DG3 here. Don't have no intro music yet, but we will be having that pretty soon. This is, of course, a new show that we got starting on NBS Media Live. Glad to be here. Glad to be doing this. It's kind of like a baby that I've had that I've been like putting into rotation and trying to, gather everything. And I think this is the perfect time to start this up. Monday night, the first Monday night game of the 2025 season is upon us. So we're going to play a little bit of Monday night quarterback. Let me give you guys a little brief synopsis of what this actually is, what this program is going to be all about. We're going to have guests, of course. We're going to have fans that talk about their teams and everything that was going on in the game of the football or in the NFL landscape over the weekend. We're going to talk about, and this is going to be a weekly show every single Monday, 7 o'clock. We were thinking about 6:30, but probably going to have it at 7 o'clock going from now on. Um, and like I said, we're going to have interviews. We're going to have discussions. We're going to play Monday night quarterback. It's a play on words because everybody has heard of the term Monday morning quarterback, where we kind of decipher and break down everything that was going on in the previous day, what the good, the bad, the ugly, the bad plays, the bad coaching decisions. All of those things will be discussed on a weekly basis with this show. We're going to have a lot of people from Team MBS Media, or not Team MBS Media Live. We're going to have the Three Kings on from time to time. That's, of course, the podcast that I'm associated with when it comes to Chicago Bears football. And, of course, we got Monday Night Game, which is the Bears versus the Vikings today. So we're going to get into that as well. We did have a couple of guests that was going to be on with us today. Ill Will, one of my co-hosts from Three Kings of the Midway podcast, was going to be on. He may not be able to show up, though, because his daughter has a little function that he's going to, that he's in today and dealing with as well. So, you got to take care of the kids, man. They come first and everything like that. So shout out to my co-host Ill Will when it comes to that situation. Um, and then we also have a resident Vikings fan. He is associated, of course, with NBS Media Live as well. My man Steve, um, Steve Rogers from Minnesota. So he's all things Minnesota. He's locked and loaded on that. So we'll be waiting for him to join us momentarily so that we can kind of get into, the good, the bad, everything that's involved with Minnesota versus Chicago today. Of course, Chicago is my team, so I thought it would be a dope idea to have him on for that. Um, like I said, without rambling on and on and on, I want to talk about some of the things that went on in yesterday's games. Right. Um, let's start with the elephant in the room, and that is the Buffalo Bills versus the Baltimore Ravens game. And man, that was a crazy game. Derrick Henry is absurdly talented. Just an overall stud, a beast out there in the backfield, right? So you got him. You also have Lamar Jackson that was producing and doing everything on that football field yesterday, and they pretty much dominated. They looked like they was handling business pretty much the whole game until the fourth quarter, until 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and then all of a sudden it got so interesting that I couldn't turn the TV off. I wanted to leave, I wanted to turn it off, but I couldn't turn the TV off because it was so interesting as to what was going on. I mean, you had some things that went Buffalo's way, of course. Um, you had some situations where Baltimore actually beat themselves. A lot of people were sitting there looking at that game and they're saying, dang, Buffalo really came back and took it. Buffalo took it. But I'm looking at that game and I'm like, the mistakes that Baltimore made is really what put Buffalo over the top. Now Buffalo had to execute, of course. They had a tip ball that went their way in the back of the end zone. Quite frankly, that was luck of that was a lucky bounce. You know what I mean? Um, but you can't take nothing away from them. I mean, they executed, they did what they needed to do. They scored two touchdowns in that closing moments, got the ball back, drove down again and scored. I mean, it was crazy what happened. Derrick Henry put the ball on the ground. That's one of the blunders that we saw happen. I couldn't believe that actually happened and went down. So, it's interesting to see how things shake out on the football field every single week. And One of the things that I always say is that the game can be won or lost on just a few plays, right? You could play magnificent the entire game, and Baltimore couldn't look like they couldn't be stopped. Buffalo couldn't do anything with them defensively. Then all of a sudden they was able to get a crucial stop. Then all of a sudden they was able to get this fumble. Then all of a sudden they was able to make Baltimore punt the ball. These are the things that happen in football games that we talk about ad nauseum. We talk about, and it goes on and on and on and on. And when you're talking about these things, sometimes people don't pay attention to it, or they don't want to pay attention to it because they're so wrapped up in the stats of the game. And I look at it and I say, okay, yeah, the stats are one thing, and this is happening here and this is happening there. But at the end of the day, are these guys going to be able to execute down the stretch? Are they going to be able to do things that they need to do to win this football game? And Buffalo was able to do that. They didn't give up. Josh Allen even came at the end of the game, and he said to the fans basically like, "Hey, y'all have a little hope, have a little faith in what we're doing out here." You know what I mean? So he took a little bit of a shot at them, just to let them know, "Hey, don't give up on us on the first game of the season. We getting things together here." So you got to give them their credit, man. They balled out, they did their job, and they handled business the way that they should. So you got to give them credit. Another game that was interesting that I would say was very interesting in the landscape of things that was going on is the Green Bay Packers game, and how they went about their business against Detroit. It's interesting to see how that shook out, right? And we all knew that Detroit would struggle. And Detroit would struggle because you're losing your defensive coordinator, you're losing your offensive coordinator. I don't care how talented you are. I don't care how much athleticism you have on the football field. When you're losing those types of players, I mean not players, but coaches, and not only those coaches, I think they lost almost 40-50% of their coaching staff. And so you have a whole new situation coming about. And people kind of wrote it off like, oh, well, we'll just keep it moving. We're just on to the next one type thing. And no, that's not how the NFL works. Coaching is so important in the NFL. It's more important than anything you might, if you look at basketball or you look at baseball, or you look at hockey even, coaching in the NFL is so much more valuable than in those other sports. It's make or break, man. Coaching staff will either ruin you or they can really pull the best out of players on the football field. And I think, the coaches that Detroit lost, no doubt they were really good, but they're going to have to replace them, and it's going to take time to kind of build continuity and trust between players and coaches of a new staff. That's the way it works in the NFL. So I kind of saw them struggling a little bit. I didn't think they would struggle that bad. You know what I mean? To where they could not score. I mean, 6 points all the way down into the fourth quarter, and they finally scored that touchdown at the very end or whatever. But I didn't think they would struggle as badly as they did, but they did struggle. So it's important to see. And Green Bay looked nice. They look decent. I hate saying that because they are a rival of the Chicago Bears, of course, but they did look decent. They looked okay. Um, Jordan Love looked pretty good. You got some weapons on the outside. Of course, you got the running back Josh Jacobs is outstanding on all levels. So he's a really good running back. 1,300 yards he had last year or whatever. So he's going to be able to go out there and produce. They got weapons. They got some things that they can do as well on the football field, and they're coached well. I mean, for the most part, Green Bay is going to come. They're going to be prepared to play. And it's just a matter of if Jordan Love really seizes control of the situation that he has going in front of him, whether you're going to be able to see that or not. Detroit, on the other hand, once again, man, it's not only the coaching staff with Detroit, in my opinion, right? And I wanted to have another guy on here. We'll probably have him on next week because he's a Detroit Lions fan. His name is MacArthur Malone, so we'll look forward to that. But next week we'll have him on. He's a Detroit Lions fan. We'll be able to talk to him as Chicago gets ready to face Detroit in Detroit week 2 in the NFL season. So we'll look forward to that. But Detroit, what I was saying about them is, of course it's the coaching, that you have to worry about with Detroit, but it's also another thing that you have to worry about, and that is the offensive line. They got three new interior linemen on the offensive line. And when you have a change of the interior linemen on the offensive line, and we all understand how offensive lines work, right? You have to have continuity, you have to have growth, you have to have development together. And that's something that Detroit is going to have to work on in the upcoming weeks because it's quite obvious that they were struggling a little bit along the offensive line. They were not able to open holes and get Jahmyr Gibbs any real room to operate when it came to running the football. I think at one point he had 20. I don't know what he ended up with, but I know it popped up 20 rushes for 24 yards or something like that. So that's when you look at what they were able to do and accomplish last year offensively, that's a drastic change to what they were doing. Even Jared Goff, at one point, he was completing some passes, 13 completions, but he had like 75 yards, something like that. So, when you're changing and you're trying to, move into a new era, you might say, when it comes to play calling, there has to be some trust from coaches and players. And I don't think they're on the same level yet. They're working all those kinks out. Detroit will be there in the end of the day because they're too talented to not really be a good team. I think they got a lot of weapons on the football field, and they'll be able to do some damage out there. So we look, it's going to be interesting to see how that all shakes out too. But it was once again a really good game. Good game by Green Bay anyway. I know a lot of Detroit Lions fans are upset. The guy Chicken Nugget, whatever his name is, on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, he was kind of distraught and already taking shots at Chicago. I don't know why. I don't know why you can hop on and start taking shots at Chicago when we ain't played a game and y'all just got waxed. So that's kind of interesting to see how that all shakes out. Very, very good weekend of football, though, man. I know everybody's excited about it. I know I am. And like I said, this Monday Night Quarterback thing, this is a baby that I've had for a little while, and I appreciate Joe Cardozo for allowing me to hop on Team MBS Media and kind of get this thing rolling in the way that we wanted to. We had a lot of discussions about it and things like that. So shout out to him for that. Shout out to the people that's tuning in, of course. We appreciate you guys. It's really nice to be here, man. This is something that I've wanted to do for quite some time, and that is talk football with a vast array of people, right? So we're going to get into that pretty soon. Still waiting on Steve Rogers to join us. As soon as he does, we'll get some of his takes on some of the games that was being played yesterday, as well as the game coming up this evening between Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings. Another game that I wanted to touch on briefly was the Dallas Cowboys game. The Cowboys and Eagles played the first game, the opening game, which was on Thursday night. And you saw in that game a lot that was going on in that game. There was a lot that went on. Of course, we heard the spit around the world, right? Jalen Carter spit in Dak Prescott, Dak Prescott. After Dak spit first or whatever the case may be, I don't think he spit on Jalen. I don't think he spit at him. Yeah, he just kind of spit. And that's what happens on the football field sometimes. But Jalen Carter made an effort to spit on another individual. Now, if that's me, I probably wouldn't have played because I might have got thrown out at that point because I'm throwing hands at that point. The most disrespectful thing you can do to somebody is spit on them. You know what I mean? Not at them, but on them. If you spit on a person, I don't know what to say about that. I just don't. I'm gonna leave it at that. But man, what a good game that was. You see, Jalen Hurts. I mean, a lot of people. His numbers were not this, not that. Jalen Hurts is a stud, man. He plays. He goes out there. He keeps his team in games. He puts the pressure on the other team, whether it be with his legs or with his arm. They're able to make plays. And Philly is one of those teams where they got so many weapons. They got Saquon. You got Jalen that can run the ball. You got Devontae Smith. You got A.J. Brown. You got all these weapons on the football field. You got Dallas Goddard. You got all these guys on the football field. And it's so many guys out there on the football field that there's so many weapons that it's hard to spread around. So nobody's going to have, you may have a guy that has a great day every now and then, but sometimes that ball is so spread around that everybody just has a decent game. And that's what it is. You look at Jalen Hurts' numbers and they're not astronomical. He's not throwing for 400 yards and he's not running for 350 or 200 yards or something like that. But he's putting together meaningful drives after drive after drive. And that's what Jalen Hurts has been able to do. So you got to give him credit for that. You got to give him credit for being able to do that. And he goes out there and he does it consistently, man. It's consistent, So may not be the gaudy numbers that a lot of people will gravitate towards, but man, winning games is all that matters. Winning games is all that matters. And I got to give him credit because that's what he does. He goes out there and wins games. Dallas Cowboys, on the other hand, they got their hands full, man. You trade away Micah Parsons. And that's another thing I didn't touch on with the Green Bay game. Micah looked good, man. A lot of people was, he can't do this, he can't do that. He looks good. He looks good. Even with the back issue, he took the epidural. I'm guessing, I don't know. But even with the back issue, he's looking really good. He's looking dominant out there. He had a sack. He had pressures. He had a meaningful sack. You know what I mean? One of the most meaningful ones in the football game. So you got to give him credit, man. That dude's a game wrecker. And he's gonna get his. He's gonna get his. If you line up and you throw the ball 30 plus times, he's gonna affect the game in some way. So anybody that plays against Green Bay, that's my thing. If you play against Green Bay, run the ball, run at him. Number one. Number two, try not to throw the ball that much. I mean, I'm just being honest. You can say, no, we're playing scared if we do that. No, you have to play the matchups. You have to play smart football. You know what I'm saying? So when you're playing Michael Parsons, yeah, I don't want to give him 40 or 50 opportunities to go and try to sack my quarterback. No, I'm not doing that. So I want him to be neutralized. And how you neutralize him is not playing into his hands. You know what I'm saying? So if teams are able to do that, they'll be able to neutralize him. I know that's what the Bears will need to do. Keep Caleb out of the fray. You know what I mean? In that regard, whenever we play Green Bay. So that is what it is. The Cowboys, though, you get rid of Michael Parsons. You have some situations where it's like, man, they look lost out there in certain ways on the football field. And, you think about the trade. When you trade a guy like Michael Parsons away, you're trading so much talent, so much, in the prime of his career, 26 years old. You know what I'm saying? So when you trade that type of guy away and you get rid of him off your football team, how do you replace that? And it remains to be seen, because they traded him away for, of course, Kenny Clark. They needed that, a run stopper. And a lot of people bashed Kenny Clark when that trade went down. It was like, oh, Kenny Clark, who is he? What's he done? Blah, blah, blah. The dude's he's a run stopper. You know what I mean? He's a Pro Bowler. He's been to 3 Pro Bowls. So for people to act like he's some kind of slouch or a pushover or sorry or bum is beyond me. It doesn't make sense. Those are people who, once again, are just so enamored and wrapped up in stats. Every defensive tackle is not going to be Aaron Donald. He is an anomaly, people. He's an anomaly. It doesn't happen like that. Those type of players don't come around that often. So it's important to remember that. When you're talking about this team with Dallas, though, being able to go out there and produce on a level that they want to, they're going to have to get key contribution, right? And they're going to have to get contribution from everybody. One or two guys is not going to be able to replace what Michael Parsons is able to do, not on the football field. So you're going to have like all hands on deck when it comes to that. And we may not see the true, the end all be all of this trade until Dallas drafts some of those players. They do have 4 draft picks in the next 2 years because of this trade. So with 4 draft picks, you'll be able to move up or down, whatever you want to do. You'll be able to probably grab a quarterback at some point if you want to. If you're going to move on from Dak, he's 32 years old. So, do you start planning for the future now? Maybe so. You know what I mean? Maybe they're not going to sign him to another deal once this one's over. So those are all things. But at the end of the day, I think Dallas is in a good situation to be able to get rid of Michael Parsons, but come away with something that you'll be able to utilize in Kenny Clark as a player, a Pro Bowl defensive tackle that can run, stop the run, which is what Dallas needed. And then, of course, you got draft picks that you're going to be able to utilize to improve your roster and get younger as well. So that's always nice to see. That's always nice to see. What other games was on tap yesterday? Let me take a look here. We got a couple that were interesting. I needed to touch on. The New York Jets. We can talk about that game, man. The Jets going against the Steelers. This was a awesome game to watch. It was a pretty good game to watch because you got to see some scoring, you got to see some playmaking. What are the takeaways from that game? Well, I gotta say, old man Rodgers can still throw the ball a little bit. He can still play a little bit. Another thing that I took away, and the storylines of this game was crazy, right? You got Justin Fields, who was with Pittsburgh last year. You got Aaron Rodgers, who was with New York Jets last year. And then both of those guys came from the NFC North, where one was playing in Green Bay, of course, Aaron Rodgers, and Justin Fields was booted out of Chicago once they drafted or was planning to draft on Caleb Williams. So you got the storylines there were crazy. You got Garrett Wilson, who made a awesome, 50-yard pass play from Fields. That was a bomb. Fields was playing good. He played really good with his arms and his legs. You see that there is still some growth and development that needs to happen, especially late games. I didn't like that decision that he made when he was kind of scrambling a little bit. I thought, he looked at Garrett Wilson, then he got Garrett Wilson stuck in the process when he tossed him the ball. So it's like, man, keep your guy a little bit safer than that. Don't make him take unnecessary shots and hits. That's something that I think he'll learn from. I think he's done a good job of that in the past. I've seen him with Chicago, and he didn't really put guys in harm's way, throwing medicine balls and things like that. But you never know, man. You gotta change some things up sometimes with the guys, and see how it goes. So it was a good game, man. You think about it, and the Steelers was able to pull it out 34-32 at the end of the game with that field goal. So it's nice to see that. Aaron Rodgers had some parting shots for the Jets, and of course, Aaron Glenn, who I guess he does not like Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn does not like him. Aaron Glenn said, "We don't need you. We don't need you in this facility, and you're not the guy for this team." Is basically what he said. So I guess Aaron Rodgers wanted to take offense to that. You can't take offense to it, man. You're 41 years old. You're like deal with it. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. Deal with it. Everybody's not going to want to back you, and you're 41 years old. You found another job. Of course, you're going to find one, but you can't get upset with somebody wanting to go in the direction of a youth movement, you might say. So, that's that, man. We'll get on to the next games. Let's see. Another game that was on tap that was really nice. A decent game that we seen play out yesterday. Let's see. Give me one moment here, people. I apologize. You had the Texans and the Rams. That was a good game that popped off yesterday. Well, it was a boring game. I mean, if you think about it, 9-14 or whatever. But Matt Stafford once again made some good plays with his arm. Matt Stafford's going to be able to do that from time to time, so we got to give him credit for it, and see how that works out. But the Rams and the Texans, that was a interesting game to say the least. C.J. Stroud, man, 19-27, 188 yards, and one interception. Excuse me. A lot of people were looking at that and saying, okay, so what's going to be C.J. Stroud? Because is he going to have a bounce back season? What's going to happen this upcoming season? It's going to be interesting to see. You had the sophomore slump. A lot of people characterized it as that. I say, hey, the league makes adjustments to people, and then you have to adjust to the league, and the coaching staff has to help him to adjust as well, right? So it's not all on the player. A lot of people just look at it as it's all on the player. No, you got to look at the coaching staff and say, okay, what are you going to do to either help this guy develop some of the things that they're going to try to take advantage of, because everybody has flaws in their games. Everybody does, you know. So it's difficult to kind of pinpoint one or two things and say, okay, this guy is not good, because everybody's going to have a flaw in their game at some point. It was nice to see Nick Chubb back on the football field as well. 13 carries, 60 yards for him. Nice little game for him. Nice to see him back out there on the field. And Nick Chubb is a beast, man. As far as it comes to like just being able to get back on the field. I mean, this is an ACL injury that he had. He had another one. This is not the first one. And he's so much older in his career now. So, sitting there at 30, I don't know, close to 30 plus maybe, being able to get back out there and produce at a high level is that's big time stuff right there, man. That's real big time stuff. So interesting to see that all happen and shake out as well. A decent game from them as well. So it was nice seeing that. Let's see, what other games did we have that took place yesterday? We got the Chiefs and the Chargers. That game was pretty good as well. You got the Chiefs. They lost. They took a loss. And that was on Friday night, I believe, 21-27 in Brazil. And one of the things about Brazil is that it's nice to see the ladies out there in Brazil, of course, but the food evidently was not too good, because you had a couple of guys that got sick out there eating some of the rice and beans, they say. So you got to be careful when you're overseas, especially down in South America and things like that. You don't really want to drink too much of the water, and certain things you kind of stay away from in order to stay healthy down there. But yeah, you got the Chiefs and the Chargers. The Chiefs took one on the chin that game. You got Pat Mahomes. Of course, he played pretty well. Justin Herbert played outstanding football. 25 for 34, 318 yards and 3 touchdowns. You see the maturation of guys, right? In the NFL, we talk about quarterbacks all the time. We talk about and appreciate it. Ashmir Prasad, she just said something about a group trip to Brazil. I don't know if I'm going. I'll let you guys do that. Y'all can have fun with that. But you think about the maturation process of a guy like Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert, 318 yards, 3 touchdowns. You look at what Jim Harbaugh was able to do with him last year, and basically what he was able to do is kind of reel him in a little bit, throw the ball a little bit less, lean upon the running game. And you see that that's what they're going to do going forward. They drafted Omarion Hampton, right? And it's not saying that Justin Herbert is not a good quarterback. It's just giving him the tools necessary to be even a better quarterback. When you're two-dimensional, and a lot of teams nowadays, because they're so enamored with the passing game, they want to throw the ball, put points on the board, and put butts in the seats or whatever you want to call it. This game of football is going to be watched regardless. I don't care if you got games where guys are scoring and it's a defensive battle. The game of football is just going to be watched, people. You know what I mean? Of course, yeah, you like to see some of the run and gun and all of that stuff and points being put up on the board. But at the same time, you're going to see this game is going to be watched regardless of if it's high scoring or low scoring. It's football. It's America's sport, really. You know what I mean? It's king. It's dominant right now. And it is what it is. You got to think about that. But Justin Herbert, back to him. Seeing the maturation of his game, he's growing in this game, right? He's already a very talented guy, very talented quarterback. But when you take the ball out of his hands and you let him throw a little bit less, he becomes even more dangerous, because the throws that he's making now are where guys are more open because they have to pay attention to the run game. And Harbaugh that's one of his staples. He's going to run the ball. Everywhere he's gone, he's run the ball. He's played good defense, and he's got smart, intelligent quarterback play. That's a recipe for success in the NFL. That's a recipe for success on any level of football. That's a recipe for success. So we look forward to it. It's nice to see that taking place. I want to see that same type of maturation process with Caleb Williams in Chicago. You also take a look at Quentin Johnston, man. Big wide receiver from TCU. He had a nice game. 2 touchdowns, 79 yards, 5 catches. When you have guys that are producing like that, it's going to be outstanding. It's going to be good. Mahomes, of course, he did his thing, 24 for 39. Didn't have any touchdown passes, but he did have one interception. Oh, no, he had one touchdown pass, excuse me. He also had a rushing touchdown, 6 rushes for 57 yards. You don't see that from Pat Mahomes that often. He does have that ability, though, right? We've seen it in Super Bowls. We've seen it in interesting parts of the game and things like that. But you don't see that quite often. But he does have that ability, and a lot of people have slept on that. I remember telling people Pat Mahomes is a mobile quarterback too. You know what I mean? Like, he may not be the fastest guy, but he's definitely he can get outside the pocket and he can make some moves and he can get downfield. And you've seen that. So a nice game from them once again, man. It's good to have football season back. I know everybody's excited about it. I know you guys are excited about it. I just want to take a brief minute, interrupt some of the recap that we got going on. We're still waiting on my man Steve Rogers. As soon as he hops in here, we'll have him on live as well to once again give some of his thoughts on, of course, the Ravens game, and then of course the game that we have that'll be played later on tonight in about an hour or so. We're at the 30-minute mark, but I just want to take a brief moment to talk about some of the things that NBS Live is bringing to you guys. We got so many different shows, content, articles, websites. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. We got college football that we're heavily involved in. You got WNBA that people are taking a hold to. Ashmer Prasad is one of the individuals that handles the WNBA. You got Joe Cardoso who does some of the NFL and the college football as well. You got Bill. He handles that as well, the college football game day and all of those programs that start up early in the morning on Saturdays, and they're working all the way into the evening time at the very end of the day. So you got that. You got Sunday morning where they come together. I'm losing the name of all these shows, but I will have them for you next week as well so that we can plug those. But so much content, man. If you can, follow NBS Media Live on X, on all your social media platforms. Subscribe to this channel, whether it be on YouTube, whether it be on X, whether it be wherever you get your content, wherever you're watching this right now. Hop on there, like it, subscribe, give us feedback. You know what I mean? If it's something that you would like us to talk about or share, most definitely we'll do that. And then it's not only sports that we talk about. We talk about fashion. We talk about hip hop. We talk about culture. We talk about everything, pop culture, all these things that we have wrapped up. We talk about the news, the things that are going on in the news cycle as well. So much content that's being produced. Steve Rogers is on there. You got Mark, my man Mark up there in New York. He's handling some things when it comes to the Mass Project that he does, the podcast. You got so much content out there. So shout out to everybody, the whole team. We appreciate everything that everybody's doing. And once again, like I said, I'm losing the name of all these shows that we have because there's so many of them. But I will have those for you guys next week, and we'll kind of highlight some of those as well on the different platforms. Another game that was good. Let's see here. Get back to some of these games right quickly. And this is a work in progress, people. I appreciate you guys. Bear with me as I'm navigating through this. Once again, we're still waiting on Steve Rogers. It's 34 minutes into the program, but it'll be even better next week as well. So we look forward to it. Let's see here. Oh man, I'm losing track of this stuff here. Hold on one second, people. Appreciate you guys. Bear with me for a moment, please. Bear with me. We'll get it together. Stuff cutting off on me. Yeah, there it is. It's freezing a little bit. Okay, there we go. We got the let's see. We got the Buccaneers and the Falcons game. Let's take a look at that one. Buccaneers and the Falcons from yesterday. That was an excellent game as well. What do you think? What's the takeaway that we can take from the Buccaneers and the Falcons game? Well, you got Michael Penix. Everybody, we got to talk about that to begin with, right? You got to talk about what he was able to do because everybody's wondering about quarterbacks nowadays, right? So you look at the Michael Penix and what he was able to do. Penix played decent, man. Real good game. 27 for 42, 298 yards and a touchdown. You got Bijan Robinson, who has 6 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown. Bijan is an absolute stud out there. Tyler Algier as well. He played pretty well. But then you go to the other side of the ball with Tampa Bay. Once again, man, you got Baker Mayfield not putting up gaudy numbers. 17 of 32. That's kind of pedestrian when it talks about the ability to completion percentage. That's pedestrian, but 3 touchdowns. When you hit pay dirt, that's all that matters. When you win the game 23-20 over the Falcons, your rival, that's all that matters. So, you look at things like that. Baker Mayfield was able to get the job done. You got to give him credit for that. It'll be interesting to see how they go on as the season goes because they do have talent in Tampa Bay as well. You got talent. You got Egbuku. You got of course you got the stud wide receivers you got out there, Chris Godwin, and you got Mike Evans, of course. So they have a lot of talent as well. All these teams, man, in the NFL nowadays they're littered with talent. Guys that can really go out there and produce and get things done, get the job done on the football field. So it's interesting to see all that happening on a week-to-week basis. Michael Penix, once again, really good game from him as well. So it's nice to see that. It's really nice to see that. Falcons took the loss, though, 0-1 on the season, but you see some growth from that team. You definitely see some growth from that team, so it's good to see. What else do we have here in week 1 that kind of jumped out on us a little bit here? Scores and highlights that really jumped out on us. Got to do a better job of being prepared here next week. Slowly but surely. 23 people in here right now. I appreciate you guys hopping in and taking a look at this whole situation and checking out this new show. We'll have even more content for you next week. It'll be a better produced show as well. So we look forward to that. You got to bear with me. This is my first time doing this. This is my first time kind of going through this whole situation. So I appreciate you guys for bearing with me and hanging in there for a brief minute. Let's see here. What other games are we talking about here? Broncos. We can talk about the Broncos. We can talk about the 49ers and Seahawks. That was an interesting game. To see the 49ers and the 49ers, man. This is with the 49ers, right? I like their team. I like their coaching staff, right? Because I believe that Shanahan is a really good coach. I like some of the players that they have on their team. They have studs. They got some good players. Christian McCaffrey, all of those guys. And Brian Robinson even stepped in and did a good job yesterday. But they're so injured. Those players, man, for 49ers, I mean, guys come away with so many injuries. You got Christian McCaffrey who's already banged up. You got George Kittle now with the, what is it, a hamstring or something? I think he's banged up now. You got Joe, the wide receiver, he's banged up. Like they can never stay healthy. You have good players, but all of their players are very injury prone. And for whatever reason, I don't know why that is. Soft tissue injuries, I don't know what it is. Strength and conditioning, something has to be a problem. Because you cannot have your top players are always injured. Kittle is always going to get injured. McCaffrey always going to be injured. You know what I mean? So, when you have that on a football team, man, you can never really accomplish the goals that you set out to accomplish because it's always a drawback. So I'm looking at their team and I'm like, man, I like the 49ers. I like what they're doing. I like some of the pieces that they have, but the pieces that they have, your best ability is your availability. And if you're not available for your team, what use are you on the squad? You know what I mean? So, I think that's something that they're going to have to battle pretty much all year. They're going to have to overcome it as they have been doing for the last several years. We'll see how it goes, though. It's going to be interesting to see. Seahawks, on the other hand, are a team that's kind of like, I look at them as a team that's in rebuilding, right? They're going through a rebuild, upgrading several positions, getting rid of players, having new guys come in, so on and so forth. And it's going to be a work in progress for them. But they did play a decent game yesterday. It was a close game, 17-13. They did take the loss, so that's interesting to see. But we'll see going forward what they're able to do in that situation. We'll see what they're able to do. Another game that stood out to me, like I said, was the Broncos and the Titans game. Man, once again, you look at these teams, and it's all about quarterback play, right? It's all about quarterback play. Bo Nix looked decent last year. You had a lot of people that was on board with it. You got a lot. I saw a lot of people that was laughing and making jokes about what he was able to do yesterday, or lack thereof, the ability that he had yesterday. They did get the W though. And of course, they was going up against the Tennessee Titans, which everybody understands they're where they are. They drafted number 1 overall for a reason. They're not that good, right? But you only won 20-12. Cam Morton was 20 for 18, 112 yards. That's to be expected from a rookie quarterback, right? He's going to take some time to kind of get into the thing, the situation. Bo Nix though only had a hand 25 for 40, 176 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. So he had some mistakes there. But once again, he was able to get the job done. He was able to win the game. Courtland Sutton, I think he's going to have an outstanding year. I think he's going to really kind of take off this year. I think he's produced, but he hasn't produced at the level that I thought he would produce at yet in the NFL. But I think he's able to do it. I think he's really talented wide receiver. And I think he's going to be one of those guys that kind of takes a jump or a leap forward this year with some of his play. R.J. Harvey, 6 carries for 70 yards. He looked pretty nice yesterday as well. So, you got some new names in the NFL. You got guys that are coming in and really changing the landscape, you might say, of certain things, and changing some of the things that's going on when it comes to the football game. So we look forward to it. Once again, a nice game as well. What else do we have on tap? What else did we have yesterday? Let's take a look. Of course, the Jaguars and the Panthers. That was a boring game, in my opinion. I don't think either one of those teams are really watched that much, but it is what it is, man. 26-10, the Jaguars were able to win that game. Once again, quarterback play, man. It's always front and center. You got Bryce Young, third-year quarterback or whatever the case may be. You got Trevor Lawrence, who's in his 5th year now. 19-31, 178 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Travis Etienne, 16 carries, 143 yards. He looks to be himself, explosive, shifty, all of the things that you liked about him. He looked really good doing it yesterday. Chuba Hubbard, on the other hand, 16 carries for 57 yards yesterday. Once again, he's a backup running back, but their main guy, Jonathan Brooks, is once again out with a ACL. So it's you hate to see that, man. And I'm a Texas guy. I love Texas running backs. I thought Jonathan Brooks was going to be a really, really good running back in this league. I thought he had the potential to be one of the best in the league, like top 5 running back in this league for a few years. But man, dealing with ACL injuries is not a fun thing, and I feel bad for the kid, man. He's still only 22, 23 years old. But dealing with that is difficult, man. 2 years in a row. So he probably won't be back until next year. So it's Chuba Hubbard's job for right now. We'll see how it goes, man. We'll see how it goes. Let's get to and preview some of the stuff that's going to be happening in this Chicago Bears versus the Minnesota Vikings game. Now, this is my wheelhouse, you might say. I love the Chicago Bears. Of course, you see the hat. Of course, I do the Three Kings in the Midway podcast as well. And we're locked and loaded on what we're doing this year. You had a scathing report. I want to address that, number one. We had a scathing report that came out about Caleb Williams, called into question a lot of things that he was doing, whether it be his work ethic, whether it be his attention to detail, his accountability issues. And a lot of it, in my opinion, was biased. And what I mean by that is that, they reverted to some of the same old situations or things, was kind of like an undertone of, talking about his sexuality or whatever the case may be. I don't know what it is. Frankly, I don't care. Um, Whatever you do in the privacy of your home or whatever, that's your business. But at the end of the day, I don't think that should have been brought into the table. I don't think it should have been an undertone of it. It wasn't like put for first and foremost out in the front street, but it was like a little undertone of it, in my opinion, when I read that report. Another thing that I didn't like in that report was that an accusation was made that he might be dyslexic and have a learning disability. Now, I hopped on Twitter and we also did like a little podcast on Friday where we talked about this a little bit in depth. And what I'd like to say about it, I want to clarify what I'm saying. And I want to be real clear about this, right? When you make an accusation that somebody has a learning disability or dyslexic or whatever you want to call it, when that type of accusation is made without proof of it, I find that very difficult to understand, to grasp somewhat. Now, if he does have that issue, I don't know if he does. It's never been documented until all of a sudden now. And everything that people said about Caleb Williams before was, and I said this on Twitter the other day, everything that everybody ever said about Caleb Williams was that he could speed process a game, he could read defenses, he could do this, he could do that. He was so intelligent when it came to the game of football. He was a student of the game. And now you're telling me that he has a learning disorder or he's dyslexic. So I go back. And the reason I do this is because I go back and I just look at situations with Bears quarterbacks. And this just seems to be, for whatever reason, what the media does. What the media does to the Chicago Bears. They sow dissension. And a lot of it is local media in Chicago, in my opinion. Right? This is just my opinion. Me looking at the Bears, and I've followed them my entire life. Looking at the Bears, they sow seeds of dissension within the organization, within the team, between players and coaches, between players and players even, right? Between ownership and players, between ownership and coaches. That's what they do. And I see this time and time again. Prime example, Justin Fields, right? Justin Fields, when he came to Chicago, he scored the highest score that you could have on that test that they give quarterbacks, right? On the test coming out of college, right? He scored the highest score that has ever been scored. But what did they do? They talked about he had epilepsy. And because of that, he might have a hard time dealing with flashing lights in the football stadium and things like that. And he might flip out and freak out. All of these things, to me, are unnecessary. These are topics that get brought up that are unnecessary. Talk about what's done on the football field. Talk about the performance on the football field. That's all I want to hear from you. I don't want to hear anything else. I want to hear these dreamed up stories about, whether a guy he's dyslexic or not. I want to hear dreamed up stories about how flashing lights or the lights in the stadium might be too bright for him when he's been playing in college football, high school football. Every high school football game is played at nighttime. So these are conversations that are brought up, and they tend to do it with Chicago Bears quarterbacks quite often that, to me, make absolutely no sense. I don't like them. I don't agree with them. Stick to the football. Stick to what's going on the football field, and let's move on from that point. Right? So you have Caleb Williams now. And now you have a situation where this story comes out on a Friday. Comes out Friday before the first week of the season starts. Why didn't it come out before? I don't know. All of a sudden it comes out right before Monday Night Football game. Put added pressure on the kid. Do this, that, and the third. So it is what it is. And that's what happens. When it comes to that, man, I just look at it and I'm thinking to myself, why, number one, did it come out? And then number two, how is this going to affect Caleb Williams? How is it going to affect the players on the football field, so on and so forth? Because a lot of this report had to do with anonymous sources, had to do with ex-coaches and ex-players that played there. So, does Caleb look around and say, hey, does anybody else have something to say about this? Does anybody else in this locker room have something to say bad about me? You know what I mean? Because that's what happens in football. When something's brought up, you have no choice. We're all human. We have to look around and say, well, who the heck said that? You know what I'm saying? I deal with NBS media. If something happens, if something's brought out to me and somebody says something to me on NBS media or whatever, then I'm looking around like who said what? Who said what about Dan? Who said what about me? You know? So it's going to be interesting to see how he reacts to it. Is he able to handle it? Because there was questions about his mental state, if he's emotional enough to, if he's emotionally mature enough to handle some of the pressure that's put upon him. So they just heaped more pressure on him, right? And you look around and look at the landscape of the football, of the NFL, and all these young quarterbacks, and a lot of them are having success. Some of them are not. Um, but he's forever linked to guys like Jaden Daniels. He's forever linked with two guys like J.J. McCarthy, who he's going to go up against tonight. So, you look at the situation, it's like, okay, what type of pressure is he under? Obviously, he's under more pressure than J.J. McCarthy to play well tonight. Let's just be real about it, right? J.J. McCarthy is essentially a rookie because he did not play last year. But Caleb Williams, on the other hand, is a football player that played last year, played the entire year last year, and he should be progressing. So you look at it and you say, okay, what's going to happen with that? You know what I mean? Is he going to be locked in? Is he going to be focused? Or is this noise that you're hearing going to affect your game? And that's my question for Caleb Williams. I hope that's not the case. I want to see the young man produce and do well. Of course, it's my favorite team, so I definitely want to see him do well. So that's going to be the thing. The keys to the game, though, how are the Bears going to win this game? I've said it ad nauseum on podcast earlier this week and so on and so forth. They got to get after J.J. McCarthy. I want to see the defensive line make him run, make him uncomfortable. It's his first game. You have a prime situation. This is a prime opportunity for the Chicago Bears to stomp on J.J. McCarthy and say, you know what? This is what you're going to have to deal with for the next 8 to 10 years. We're going to be on you. We're going to be on your butt every game. We're going to be bringing a hammer. We're going to be putting you down in the dirt, so on and so forth. This is what we're going to do. Matter of fact, I even talked on a podcast earlier this week, and we were talking about, hey, would you take a little shot on JJ every now and then? Yeah, I would. and people are like, man, Dan, why would you say that? Man, this is football, man. I'm not saying hurt the kid. That's not what I'm saying. I don't want anybody injured. But you know what? I may push you. I may nudge you a little bit, make you feel something, right? We've all done it. Let's be real. You know what I mean? I'll give you an example of it. Playing basketball. If you ever play basketball, you ever see somebody try to get a step around you and they get a step around you? I've seen people take and take their knee and put it right in somebody's thigh just to let them know, hey, you're not going to have it easy. It's not going to be an easy run to the basket around me. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. You have to make him feel you. You have to make him know that you're present, that you're going to be locked in, you're going to be on him. And I want Dennis Allen to throw the kitchen sink at him. I want him to be blitzed. I want him to get to the quarterback as much as you can. Make his life uncomfortable. This is his first game. It's on the road in Chicago. It's Monday night. Let's make an example out of that. Let's let him feel what it's like to be in the black and blue division, which is what the NFC North is, right? Hey, you're going to feel this. You're going to be in this situation for the next 8 to 10 years. Get ready, man, because we locked in. We ain't going nowhere. So that's what I think the Bears need to do. Of course, you want to see Caleb Williams do well. You want to see the offense as a whole do well. But more importantly than that, I don't want the whole game plan to be on his shoulders. I don't want the Bears to go out there, and this is what they've done in the previous years, is go out there and feel like they have the need to go out there and prove why we took him number one. You see that? You see what he could do? That's why we took him number one. You don't have to do that. Just go out there and win a game. Just go out there and produce. Just go out there and run the ball. Just go out there and take what the defense gives you. You don't have to play hero ball. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to be Superman. Go out there, take what the defense gives you, execute the game plan, run the football, play good defense, we win the game. It's simple as that, people. It's as simple as that. Sometimes when we get into a situation where we want to be the end all be all of everything on the football field, and we want to prove to people why we took a quarterback, number one, and we moved on from Justin, you fall in danger, and you can be a victim to outthinking yourself. And that's what I don't want the Bears to do. I think Ben Johnson, though, is a different type of coach. I think he's going to do what's necessary to win a football game, not to put points, not to look good, not to make your quarterback look like a stud. That's not the goal for him, right? The goal for him is to win the football game. And I think he's going to do an excellent job of kind of having everybody buy into that type of situation. We had about 30 minutes away from this game right now, and I'm sorry, Steve might be tied up. I think I got a message from him saying that his wife had a flat tire. So shout out to Steve, man. Hopefully everything is safe with you guys, and we'll look for you next time. We played Minnesota again. Of course, you're with NBS Media Live, so we'll have you on the show from time to time as well. I'm looking forward to this game, though, man. Monday Night Football, the big boys are playing. I call them the big boys because they are the Chicago Bears. I know you guys are upset about that, but it is what it is. That is my squad. I'm unapologetic about it as well. So, once again, people, man, I appreciate you tuning in with us. We're looking for the Bears to do some damage today. Once again, follow, subscribe, like the show's content if you can. Give us feedback if you want to. And, of course, we're going to have more guests on. This was the first episode. This was the debut of it. It will get smoother. Bear with me, people. I do appreciate it, though, but it will get smoother. We'll have some segments. We'll have some key takeaways from each game that we're talking about each week. We'll have guys on that talk about their team in specific, what they want to see, what they didn't like, what they did like, and we'll really get into breaking down some of the coaching decisions, some of the plays that were made, some of the players that either made blunders or made outstanding plays. We'll get into all of that stuff, man. So I'm looking forward to this. This is the first of many on this platform that we're doing, and we're looking forward to so many more. We're looking forward to having some of the people on from NBS Media Live, my co-host from Three Kings and Midway podcast. We'll have fans on. We'll have fan reactions. We'll also include some of the content and the chatter that's going on in the chat. I appreciate you guys. There is some chatter in the chat, and I didn't get to show that some of that stuff yet, but I will show a little bit of it, like that one there. You got Ashmere. She said, "Let's go to Brazil." I don't know about that. I would like to go to Brazil. Let's be. I got to be honest. I would like to go to Brazil. You got my man Jamar down there. He says salute to the family. So I appreciate you tuning in, Jamar, as well. Thank you very much. We appreciate everybody joining us for Monday Night Quarterback. We will be back next week, of course. We will be back going forward. Once again, tune in. Always stay locked in with us. We got tons of content on NBS Media, and we're looking forward to